Hey there, back with another video. Today we are talking about how writers make progress without the hustle and without the burnout. Imagine that. So a lot of writers are exhausted and they don't know why. I, of course, have been one of those writers, so I think I'm a good person to be able to talk about it. So this is what's happening. You're writing regularly, you're thinking about your work constantly, either the work that you're doing, the work that you'd like to do, the fact that you're unhappy with the work that you're doing. You might be taking writing classes, you may be watching all the videos, you may be buying books about writing. But the issue is you don't really feel like you're moving forward with any kind of a writing career. And so today I wanted to talk about how writers really actually make some real progress on why hustle and burnout are usually just signs that something important is missing. Something important is missing. So this is why hustle feels productive, but actually really isn't. So first thing, busy writing versus meaningful movement. I think I've mentioned this before in some other videos. Busy writing often looks like you're doing a lot of, personal writing. Personal writing is wonderful, journaling and things like that, but it's not actually growing you an audience. So you don't actually feel like your message or whatever it is that you want to be able to say is getting out to the people who really are interested in reading your work. So you just feel like you're doing a lot of busy writing. You're not really, your point of view isn't really expanding because you're not really getting yourself involved in circles that expand your point of view. So you keep probably writing the same thing over and over and over again, same experiences, and your point of view isn't actually growing. But what you actually really want is some sort of meaningful movement. And I can tell you that one of the greatest things that's ever happened for my writing is me being able to move abroad. And of course, I understand everybody's not able to move abroad, but what is moving abroad really more than just getting into a space around other people, other places that are beyond where it is that you usually hang out. So the practice of me being able to move across, I've said I've lived abroad since 2018. I've lived in 10 different countries. That's a ton of different languages, food experiences, different types of people, both people who are native to the land as well as other expats, immigrants and travelers that I have met while being abroad. All of that adds to the writing that I'm doing. It's adding to my sense of self. It adds to my personal point of view about what it is that I want to be able to write about. So it sort of turned my busy writing, whereas before I left the United States, that's my home country, I was more involved in, doing marketing work for a lot of other companies, which worked phenomenally well for me for a good few years. But after a while, I got tired of it and I got kind of burnt out on trying to do that. And I started to feel like there was something in me that wanted to be said. Other projects that I wanted to be able to work on, I just couldn't figure out what that was. And so it took me some time to be able to figure that out. And that's where the meaningful movement started to come. And that meaningful movement only happened because I changed environments. So you may be feeling burnt out because, you're just sort of feeling stuck where you are, stuck in the same place and not really expanding, exposing yourself to opportunities to be able to expand your point of view. The next thing is constant output without any real direction. This is often when you might have a lot of clients, a lot of low-paying clients, where you feel like you're sort of running after deadlines. You're running after deadlines, and you're not really. You're running after deadlines for a lot of clients that you're not really passionate about. And so you just sort of you get burnt out again. You get burnt out on talking to people um, who don't understand who you are as a writer. I remember in the early days of my writing business, I was writing for, of course, doing marketing for other people, for other small businesses for the most part. And this particular client wanted to work with me on trying to group other writers together to be able to write content. I think it was for like a senior citizen site. They were like doing some sort of work with like senior housing or something like that. And they needed a lot of content to be able to put out there to be able to attract the clients to their development. And I was excited. I was like, okay, I know a place where we can find some really great writers. And I remember the gentleman stopped me when I had said that. He was like, Helena, we don't need great writers. We just need some writers. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Which sort of, in some ways, I felt kind of insulted in kind of the work that I was doing. Like, how dare you bring me on to this project and you don't even value the work that I'm doing? And a lot of people don't value writers. You need to be able to figure out whether or not you are in a position where they don't really value writers. They think that what you're doing is mechanical. They don't really understand that what you do is both mechanical and art, and there's a brain, a thinking process behind what it is that you're writing, and they don't really have any understanding or appreciation for where that comes from. And so that can burn you out. That can burn you out very quickly. So you're feeling like you're putting out a bunch of content in a place where no one appreciates what you have to go through in your brain in order to be able to give them this great content, and they just sort of throw it out there without any appreciation. So you get burnt out on that. So hustle really keeps writers busy enough to avoid making any sort of clear decisions, because you might be in a state where you feel like, I'm not making the money that I really want, or I don't really have time to be able to go out and find the types of clients that I want to be able to work with. You don't really have the space to be able to make any clear decisions, to be able to make a strategy, a plan, to be able to get you to your next step. How do I get out of where I am, this hustle mode, to be able to get to clients, or to do the type of writing that's going to pay me livable wages, or even more than livable wages, to make an excellent living. That's what I am working for now, to be able to make. I make a nice living. I make a nice living as a writer, but I want to make excellent wages. So when you're in a constant state of hustle, it actually delays your clarity, because you're so busy trying to. Is my hair falling down? When you're in hustle mode, you're always constantly trying to find a way. You don't have you don't have, what I'm saying is, you don't have time to be able to find any clarity, to be able to get to your next part, your next step in your development as a writer. And so it's not a matter of you being lazy, but it's really just a matter of you being overextended. You need rest, and you need time to be able to figure out what your next step is. So what does progress actually look like for you as a writer? Progress in writing isn't really about, producing more words, more content, more books. It's really about reducing the friction. that's happening in your process. So progress looks like knowing what it is that you're working on right now. It helps to be able to have some sort of, you need to be able to put on your calendar some sort of time for you to be able to figure out what it is that you're working on right now, what it is that you're working toward. I don't care if it's an hour on Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Saturday morning, just for an hour. You need that hour to be able to say, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on right now. And right now, this is paying the bills. But this is where my vision is going towards. If you can find 1 hour a week to be able to do that, that really would be really great for you. that would really move your writing business forward. Progress can also look like understanding what matters for you and what does not. What are your priorities? I have done an exercise. God, I wish I understood, if I knew what this man's name was. Let me look it up. See if I can find his name in here. I'm trying to find Dan Blank. Yeah, Dan Blank. There's a gentleman named Dan Blank. He has a book. He has a book that I want to give you that I actually really enjoy. That actually has a really great book, that actually has a really great exercise in helping you to figure out what your priorities are. I would rather give you the name of the book so that you can have it, because I like to be able to give credit to writers, creators, where it is due. So I'm looking on the Amazon, and of course, I can't find it. Oh, it's called Be the Gateway. Dan Blank, D-A-N, the last name is Blank, B-L-A-N-K. And the book is called Be the Gateway, a practical guide to sharing your creative work and engaging an audience. This is such a really great book. But he has an exercise in his book where he walks you through the process of writing, figuring out what your priorities are. And so it starts, I'm looking over here because I have a group of Post-it notes on the wall. And it's 3, 6, 9. It's 10 Post-it notes, right? So I have 10 Post-it notes on my wall, and it's sort of in a pyramid like this. So it starts off with 1, second level is 2, the third level is 3, and the fourth level is 4 Post-it notes. And at the very top of the pyramid, I put what my particular focus is right now, and everything underneath that pyramid sort of happens in order. So my first priority is that first paper at the very top of the pyramid. My second and third priority sort of come under that, so on and so forth. And the whole point of the exercise is that, everything can't be a priority, right? Everything can't be a priority. So this exercise sort of forces you to visually write something down, what your priorities are, put them in order. You put them in order so that you can see them for yourself, what your priorities are. And it's a way for you to go back and forth and to be able to measure your progress as a writer, as a creative. Are you creating the things that you said that you wanted to do based on what you said was a priority, not what your boss, your other clients said is a priority, but based on what you want to do as a priority? That's important. So the book is called Be the Gateway by Mr. Dan Blank. I'm looking in my notes. Yeah, so you know what you're working on right now. What are your priorities? Understanding what matters and what doesn't falls into line of what are your priorities. Having fewer projects and not more. What I learned in this particular exercise, at one point I had too much stuff going on. Too much stuff going on. And right now, what one of my biggest priorities is being able to move. I live in Playa del Carmen in Mexico. I have said that before. And I want to be able to move to another town. I want to be able to move to San Miguel de Allende. And it takes extra resources, at least for the way that I'd like to live. It takes more resources than what I have at this moment. And so what I'm doing is I put that move to San Miguel at the very top, and everything else sort of falls underneath that. It's there in service to my top priority of moving in a few months. So when progress is real, what happens is that your writing feels calmer instead of frantic. I get up every day. I understand what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. I understand why I'm doing it. And so even though there's stuff that I have to do that I may not always love, there's stuff that I have to do that I may not always love. I do know that I'm doing it in service to what my top priority is. And so I've decided it's okay for me to be able to do it. So, why burnout happens to capable writers? Number one, you're often carrying too many ideas. You're often carrying too many ideas at one time, which is why I also explained this figuring out what your priorities are. You got too many ideas going on at once. So you have to figure out when an idea is ready to be worked on and when it can sort of be shelved for 6 weeks from now, 6 months from now, next year. Not that they have to go anywhere, but you just need to be able to prioritize. It's absolutely impossible for, at least for a person like me. I have ideas that are popping all over the place all the time, and it may not always be an appropriate time for all of these ideas. And so I like having my post-it notes where I work. You can also have yourself a little notebook. I know some people, they keep like a little notebook that's literally about this big, and they just, anytime they have an idea, they put their idea in there and they carry it with them everywhere they go. I like the post-it notes because it allows me to pick them up and move it in different places. And when I'm not necessarily working on it right now, I sort of put it on the side to the wall. And every once in a while, I'll look back at it and say, oh, yeah, I remember I had this particular idea. Is this a time for me to be able to start picking that idea apart? Or is that a distraction? So that's really important for me to be able to figure out. So you're carrying too many ideas. Also, why burnout happens to capable writers. You're feeling like you're behind an invisible clock. And I'm talking to my ladies who might be 40 plus, and maybe you felt like you wanted to write in your earlier years. But you're feeling like I'm 40, 50, 60. Maybe I'm too old for this writer stuff. Maybe I'm too old for these writer dreams. And I want to tell you that you're not. You're not too old. This is actually the perfect time for you to be writing. The perfect time for you to be writing. I swear to goodness, we need more mature voices, mature women's voices, mature Black women's voices out here in the world. We need your experiences. We need your wisdom. We need you to be able to write these stories and share them with ourselves, with our younger generations, to be able to have it so that when we are gone, this is what our legacy is. One of my mother, I'm 48 years old. My mom passed away when she was 49. And so there are so many questions that I have. I remember the experience. She died of cancer. And so the last 10 years of her life were filled with, at least for me, they were filled with a lot of memories of her living with cancer. And so I never really got to know her as an adult who didn't have cancer, because she had it. I want to say I was maybe around 16 years old when she was originally diagnosed. I was 16-ish. And then, it had gone away and then it had come back a few years later. But there was a good 10 years, a 10-year span of when, while she was living with the cancer. And I really wish that she had, if there was a diary or a journal or something that I could look back at and just sort of collected whatever her wisdom was at the time. Because, when I was younger, I had no appreciation for what her wisdom was at that time. But I do now. And so I can only guess at this point between perhaps speaking to my father and what he remembers of my mom. And just sort of piecing stuff together on my own. And so it'd be nice, even though I don't have children of my own, I do have a niece. I have a younger sister. She's a couple years younger than I do. I would really like for people to be able to go back and look at stuff that I have shared, things that I have written, videos like this, that sort of explain the type of a person that I am. And, they can take whatever wisdom they want from it and move on with their lives. And that's really what the work of writing is. But when you're burnt out, you don't ever get to do that. So because you're feeling like you're behind. You're not behind an invisible clock. You're actually right on time. Comparing yourself to younger or louder creators. This is a big thing. Stop comparing yourself to other people. One of the things that I've had to learn how to do is to be more involved in my own production process than I do spending time consuming other people's work. What I need to start doing is saying that I'm not even going to look at other people's creations until I do my own work. That's what I need to do. Now, I need to be able to hold myself to that, of course. But yeah, stop comparing yourself to younger creators. You're in a different space of life, and there are other people your age who are looking for your wisdom, that are looking for your experiences. They want to see their experiences reflected in you. That's really important. People your age, older and younger, want to be able to see their experience, their life experience reflected in what it is that you have to say. So what you have is valuable. So burnout isn't really caused by writing too much. It's caused by writing without a clear container, without a clear place to be able to put it. So this becomes especially true for writers who are building an independent life, who really want more sustainability. So what's the alternative to all of this? Writers make progress when they slow the process down just enough to be able to think clearly. So you can choose a single direction. Choosing a single direction. As writers, a lot of us often have a bunch of different ideas, and sometimes they go in different directions. For me, I have a business that has different arms in it, and it has different writing projects connected to it, but it's all related to one whole. And that's what you have to be able to create for yourself. So and it also depends on where you are in life. If you still have a full-time job, and you are working on, if you have a full-time job and you want to be able to, write a book or work on some sort of a social media project or something like that, what it's useful for you to be able to do is to figure out what's the scope of the work that you're able to produce at that time. If you're like me and you have a little bit more space in your life where your writing life is your business, then of course you have more space to be able to have multiple spokes within your business, to be able to work on several projects that are related to this one business that I have. But you need to be able to choose a single direction. Understand where you are in your life and what projects are related to that. You want to be able to build structure around what your energy is. One of the things that I used to do when I was in the real early days of my business was, I remember I had a project where I was ghostwriting a book for someone, and my God, I was so dedicated. I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Your girl wasn't waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do anything. But I did for that because I wanted so bad to be able to do this full time. I had a regular job, a regular 9-to-5 job, where I was doing editing work for an education system in Florida. And I absolutely hated that work, and I wanted to be out of there so bad. And so I was like, listen, if I got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be able to get this done, then that's what I'm going to do. And so that's what I did. I got up at 3. I would probably work about 2 hours on that writing project. And then I would get myself ready for work. And the reason why I did that was because I knew that my energy only worked in the morning. And it started to click to me that when I give my best energy to the place that I don't even want to be at, and leave leave the work that I really wanted to do until the end of the day, I was not giving myself my best effort. I wasn't giving my dream a chance to come true. And so I needed to be able to get up early in order to make that happen. And that was what I did. And eventually it led me to where I am today. It took some time. Because this is maybe, maybe it was in the early days, so probably year 1 or 2 of my writing business. So it's been 10 years. But I spent the last 7 years traveling, so it didn't take as long as I may think it did. But yeah, you want to be able to build structure around what your particular writing energy is. You might find time to be able to write in the middle of the afternoon during your lunch break. Or maybe the evenings is the best time for you to be able to do it. But figure out where your energy, your best writing, where can you give your best energy? Give your best energy to yourself during the time that works for you. If 3 a.m. ain't your thing, don't think you need to be able to follow me and do that. If you maybe 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. is your thing. Learn skills that remove guesswork. One of the greatest things I learned how to do was to be able to pitch ideas. Pitching ideas is a skill that writers use all the time. I don't care if you're writing for magazines. I don't care if you're writing for corporations. I don't care, even when the writing that you do for yourself, learning how to put together a good pitch to be able to figure out what's a good idea and what isn't. What is your pitch idea missing, and what is too much? That's a skill that you will always be able to use no matter what you're doing as a writer. So progress compounds when your nervous system starts to feel safe. Now, because I have a little bit more, I have flexibility in time. I feel like I have more spaciousness that spaciousness in my work, in my ideas. My ideas are a lot broader now. I have less fear around putting my ideas out there into the world because I've created a life that I feel good about. So, if you would like to be able to do the same thing, I have a free download, free gift. I would love for you to have it. It's called 5 Successful Magazine Pitches. And really what it is I give you 5 of the exact pitches that I use to be able to send off to popular magazines, and they were accepted. So I give you the actual pitch, and then right under the pitch, I give you a link to the published article so that you can see the connection between what the original pitch looks like versus what the finished article looks like. If that is interesting to you, you can go to the description box, click on the link, and put in your name and your email address, and you'll get that right away. All right, so if you have been tired in your writing life, and if you've been tired in your writing life, it may not be a motivation problem. It may just be time to choose a calmer way forward. Okay, so my name's Helena Black. I invite you to click the link, go to the free download, get that first. Also like, share, subscribe so that you'll get any of my new videos. Leave a comment, say hello. I'm always happy to say hello to folks. And I will see you later. Have a great day. Peace.